Hello everyone, welcome to another video of Into the Hive Mind. I'm really just cranking these videos out right now with the new Leviathan supplement and from the Warzone Octarius. Just have tons of new content to talk about. So today I just wanted to go over the RTT that I played yesterday. I talked about it a little bit in my last video that I'm bringing a Monster Mash list as the Halloween theme for the event. And just wanted to let you guys know how I did and go over each of my games. So first off, the list, I will post the full battlescribe text in the link of this video. But essentially, the theme for this event is you have the option for bonus prize support if you bring a Monster Mash list, which is you have to have 1,000 points of monsters in your army. So with that in mind, I created this list. What I noticed is it's very difficult to score secondaries with it, but it does the job very well as far as overwhelm your opponent with high toughness monsters. So it's just a single Leviathan battalion, and it is led by a Broodlord with the adaptive neurolope relic for CP regen, as well as the warlord trait of Swarmleader, which I think everyone will be taking in basically every list. I did use the Alpha Leader Beast to give him that Warlord trait because I do want 2 different adaptive physiologies. And with that, also in the HQ slot, I have a Flying Hive Tyrant with 2 sets of monstrous scything talons and the biomorphic carapace relic. And wings, obviously. His psychic powers were paroxysm and the horror, and that actually came in pretty clutch, especially in my round 3 game, but round 2 and 3, both of those were really important. And then I have the Swarmlord, just to double move that Flyrant specifically, but also other monsters. Swarmlord's just really good as long as you have melee threats. In troops, I'm just filling out the slots with rippers, so 2 units of 3 rippers, and then a unit of 9 warriors with the bioweapon bond, synaptic link, and basically they all have deathspitters and bone swords, just to give +1 to hit to key units and be very durable. And if they have no other target, then they give themselves +1 to hit, which with their guns and bone swords actually makes them pretty reasonable. In the elite spot, I had kind of the meme unit of the Haruspex, and he did all right, about what I expected him to do, but I gave him the adaptive physiology of murderous size on his gaping maw, making it strength 8, AP 2, D3 +1 damage on his 4 D3 attacks, which can be pretty entertaining. Then a unit of 6 Hive Guard, because they're just too good not to take, even in the Monster Mash list. They were very important. Then a Maleceptor to fit the theme of if you're not toughness 8, then you need to at least have a 4+ invuln. So Maleceptor, who gives the Hive Guard reroll damage rolls, and occasionally the Haruspex reroll damage rolls, which actually came out to be pretty funny. And then just finishing it up with 2 Scythed Hierodules, just more T8 monsters, putting me over that 1,000 point limit. And Scythed Hierodules are pretty decent, especially with that flamer that people kind of forget about. It's great at picking up just small guardsman units, or anything T3 with a 5-up save is just vaporized by that flamer. So yeah, basically round 1, I played my so this event was 8 people, just in a friend's garage. And so even though it was a really small RTT, it was definitely very competitive. We had half of our team that we took to Vegas was playing in that event. So definitely small number of people, but all very competitive players. And yeah, round 1, went up against Randall, and he was bringing a triple Catan list in order to fill out that 1,000 points of monsters. This game was very interesting. We played Scorched Earth, so Dawn of War with 2 objectives in each deployment zone and then 2 in the middle. And honestly, this game basically came down to who goes first. which thankfully I won the roll to go first because basically it was just whoever got to push forward and claim the center of the table from the get-go kind of had the advantage on the primary. And this game ended up being extremely close. Both of us took really bad secondaries. With this monster match list not having the lictors, so I can't take Rod like I normally do, I kind of just didn't know what to take, and I took Raise the Banners since I had 2 objectives in my deployment zone, kind of forgetting that I literally have only 2 infantry units in the entire army, and I don't want to use my 240 point warriors or my 270 point Hive Guard to raise banners, but kind of forced myself to have to do it, which reduced some of my killing power and really threatened my score for the game. And that's because I also forgot about the new stratagem for being able to shoot or perform actions and still shoot for 1 CP. So that definitely made the game a lot closer than I think it otherwise would have been if I had just remembered that I had a 1 CP strat to do that. But the game ended up being an absolute blast. Necrons very much did their Necron thing, where turn 1, again, I won the roll to go first, and I double moved my Flyrant to go after his Overlord that had the crazy Scythe relic that ignores all invulns and feel no pains and everything else. And I knew that would be a really big threat to my army, so I sent my Flyrant, double moved him over my opponent's lines. Because he was running triple Catan, he didn't have many units to actually block my movement. So I was able to double move the Flyrant and charge his character. The Flyrant did exactly what he was supposed to do and killed the character, but being Necrons, he used the 1 CP, stood back up on a 4+, and then turned around and charged the Flyrant back and killed it in 1 shot because it was strength 8, AP 4, flat 4 damage, reroll wounds, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, and ignoring the not only his 4-up invuln, but I guess also his 5-up feel no pain from Catalyst that I gave to him. And yeah, even with the -1 to wound, he just completely got 1 shot, which really sucked. But yeah, and then basically the rest of the game was me double shooting the Hive Guard to do 3 wounds to each of his 3 Catan every single turn. And then I just kind of whiffed on all my charges and I wasn't able to charge his Catan, meaning that I was only doing the 3 wounds per turn in the shooting phase. And my smites were kind of failing as well. So I think I did a total of 3 wounds via smites in that entire game, even though I have 4 psychers. Yeah, it was just, his Catan were way more durable than I feel like they should have been, with me able to do damage in 3 different phases per turn. But I basically ended up only killing the Deceiver, and he still had the Void Dragon and the Nightbringer able to rampage through my lines. And that one character that I killed turn 1, he ended up healing over 26 wounds over the course of the game, and this is a 6 wound character. I just basically got him down to 1 or 2 wounds every single turn, and then he was able to heal back to full, and I just could never kill him. And he picked up my entire warrior unit, he picked up the Flyrant, he picked up a Hierodule. He was just murdering absolutely everything. And yeah, it was pretty devastating. I actually ended up getting tabled in this game by turn 5, but I barely managed to still win. And that's because I went first and I was able to pressure all the objectives. And I was even able to give him a 0 point primary on turn 2, which was really big. And also he took Retrieve Octarius, which we both agreed was an absolute mistake, because he basically was only able to get 4 points on it because he's Necrons and doesn't move very far. So he was able to do Retrieve Octarius in his 2 table zones, but then I was able to kill off most of his infantry, and he wasn't really able to get the Retrieve Octarius in my table zones. So because of that, the final score was pretty close. It was 76-75. So it was literally a 1 point difference. With that, I I was able to actually score max primary, which is what really won me the game. I got 15 points on turn 2 and 3, whereas he got 0 and 5 for turn 2 and 3. And then I got 10 points turn 4 and 5 points turn 5 before I got tabled. Whereas he got 5 points on turn 3 and then 15 points on turn 4 and 5 on the primary. So he was able to get 35 primary, but I was able to get 45 primary. And then because he was running 6 characters, he had the 3 Catan, a Technomancer, a Chronomancer, and then the Void Overlord with the Void Scythe. So I took Assassinate and Psychic Interrogation, as well as Raise the Banners. And basically, with the Psychic Interrogation, I was able to get it off 3 times, but he had the 1 CP strat for 4 up to deny a Psychic power, which he used to prevent me from getting more points on Psychic Interrogation. And then for Assassinate, I assumed since, I kind of had to kill the 3 Catan and he had 3 other characters to kill, that I'd get at least a decent score on this, but I actually only ended up getting 6 points because his character stood back up and his other 2 Catan just wouldn't die. He made an unbelievable amount of 4+ invulns, as well as, again, my smites just did nothing, and he was able to actually kill all my guys before I could get them in combat, which was kind of ridiculous. But then I took Raise the Banners. I basically didn't get very many points on this at all. It was definitely a bad pick, especially with me forgetting about the 1 CP strat. But I got all of 6 points for Raise the Banners over the course of the game, which beat out his 4 points that he got for Retrieve Octarius, which also I think is what helped me win. Because he also took Engage on all fronts, which he actually scored 13 points for, because his Catan were basically in my face from turn 2 on. And then he took Bring It Down, because I do have 6 monsters. He killed all 6 of them. He tabled me, so he got the 12 points for that. And then he got 4 points for Retrieve Octarius. So super close game that basically came down to the fact that I went first. I think I could have gotten a little more points, again, if I'd remembered the stratagem, but he also could have easily won if he'd just picked a different secondary than Retrieve Octarius. So really tight game that almost had me lose right from the get-go in round 1, but barely managed to pull out the win to then go up against my teammate Colin K in round 2. And he was playing Grey Knights. Now, you didn't have to bring a monster list to this event. It was just you opened yourself to the option of an additional prize pool. It was basically whoever got the top place. If you brought a monster match list, then you would get what was essentially the first place prize. Colin opted not to go for the monster list, so he instead brought Grey Knights, and he actually was playing more his 8th edition list of a Paladin bomb with a Terminator bomb, and then a whole bunch of characters, including the Nemesis Grandmaster Dread Knight. And that guy was very strong, but I definitely lucked out in my game against him, and Colin's dice were horrendous. In this mission, we were playing... what was it? It was Hammer and Anvil. It was Retrieval mission. Hammer and Anvil with 6 objectives. Once again, you have 2 basically just outside your deployment zone, and then of each player's deployment zone, and then 1 deep inside each player's deployment zone, for a total of 6 objectives. And in this one, I took Engage on all fronts, Assassinate, and then Raise the Banners again, because now I have basically 3 objectives that are pretty much in my deployment zone, and I remembered the stratagem this time. So that made it much better, where turn 1, I ended up having my Broodlord, the Hive Guard, and the Warriors put up a banner. And then, again, I got to go first. So, or no, Colin went first. He just was slow Terminators and Paladins, and basically the only thing he got to do was move his Dread Knight forward, and he shot and killed 2 Hive Guard. He was able to get an angle where he could barely see one of my Hive Guards kind of poking out from behind the building. And yeah, he picked up 2 of them. But other than that, he did, I think, a couple wounds to a Hierodule and kind of had a slow opener just because he's a slow army and bolters don't do anything to toughness 8 Hierodules. But he took Grind Him Down, Bring It Down, and Warp Ritual. And I think the Warp Ritual was kind of a mistake, but I also agree with him that there wasn't much of a better choice. But with how anti-Psyker Tyranids are, that definitely ended up hurting him. And basically, yeah, my turn 1, I ran everyone forward, shot at his Grandmaster Dread Knight, who then teleported back into my deployment zone behind my Hive Guard. And he waited until I basically shot my whole army. And then he teleported outside of charge range of everything, but where on his turn he would be able to move and charge my Hive Guard. At which point I paid the 2 CP to double shoot my Hive Guard into his Dread Knight just to try and make him pop his 3-up invuln, which he did, and then ended up failing 3 of them, 3 saves with that 3-up invuln, and I managed to do 7 damage, bringing him down to 5 wounds. I'd done 1 damage before that with a smite. But that ended up being really key because then he only had 5 wounds left, so he was degraded when he was in my deployment zone. And on his turn 2, he basically was able to move forward and kill my 2 Scythed Hierodules. I basically just ran them up just to block his giant slow-moving blobs and kind of hold him back in his deployment zone. It's funny that I'm using 470 points of monsters to basically roadblock, but it worked. And he was kind of one of them actually survived through 2 full rounds of combat to be able to lock his paladin squad up, which was really key. And then on his turn 2, he, because of Shadow in the Warp and me having 6 denies plus the stratagem for a deny, he actually only ended up getting off, I think, 2 powers over the course of the entire turn. I literally denied 5 powers, 4 from my rolling and 1 from the stratagem. And then he failed like 4 other powers. And basically the only power that he got off was an extra damage against the Hive Guard with his gun from the Dread Knight. And when he shot the Hive Guard, he actually then just rolled really bad and only killed 1 of them. So was definitely not great there. And then when he tried to charge my 3 remaining Hive Guard, I decided to Overwatch because I still had rerolls to hit from Swarmleader and I still had reroll damage from the Maleceptor. So with my 6 shots, I got 1 hit, full rerolls, got a 2nd hit, wounded with both of them, and he failed both 4-ups. And because I'm rerolling damage, I got 5 damage and I killed his Dread Knight in Overwatch, keeping my Hive Guard alive. And that was right after he had a really bad psychic turn where I basically denied everything. And he just couldn't quite recover from having that horrible of a turn 2. Kind of the crazy key moment for me was my bottom of turn 2. I ended up doing the Haruspex thing that I kind of joked about in my last video, where I gave him the reroll damage from the Maleceptor instead of giving it to the Hive Guard. And then I moved him forward and charged the Paladin squad. I popped the 1 CP for reroll hit rolls on the Haruspex, popped a 2nd CP for reroll wound rolls, and with my 4d3 attacks, I got 9 attacks, hitting on 4s rerolling. I think I got 7 hits, and then wounding on 2s rerolling. And I think I had 7 hits, 7 wounds with 2s rerolling. And he failed at all of them at AP2, and his Paladin squad failed 4 of their 4-up saves, at which point I managed to pick up 3 Paladins with that, which then gave me 2 more attacks with my shoveling claws, and those 3 attacks killed 2 more Paladins, and I literally picked up the rest of his Paladin squad with just the Haruspex. And the Haruspex managed to then go on to kill 2 more characters and finish the game. He killed Drago. Drago came over and kind of whiffed and basically only did 6 wounds to him, leaving me at 7 wounds left, and then I managed to kill Drago. So again, he just rolled really, really bad the entire game. That was definitely a big part of it. But Tyranids, with all their anti-psyker stuff, is actually a pretty good matchup into Grey Knights. I'm not sure how well I would have done if he had brought what is, I believe, the current meta list of like 5 Dread Knights. But yeah, the Paladin and Terminator squads are definitely good. They can get buffed up a lot, but with me giving them -1 to hit, giving them fight last, and then just him rolling bad, it made it where I was able to do way more damage with him not really able to do anything in return. And then I also got super lucky and killed his Dread Knight with him not doing really anything. He killed 3 Hive Guard just with his gun over 2 turns and then died. So that was really big for me. Then round 3, I guess the final score for that game, it was a bit of a blowout, again, just because of the bad dice and the unrecoverable turn 2. Was 97 to 49. He managed to get, so I got 12 points for engage, as well as 15 points for assassinate, and the full 15 points for raise the banners. Whereas he actually got 0 for grind him down, which again, his list was literally 5 characters and 2 giant bricks of dudes. So grind him down was actually seemed a very logical choice, but through just bad luck, he got 0 points on grind him down, and he only got 6 points for bring it down. He killed 3 monsters over the course of the game, and he only got 3 points for warp ritual, only getting it off 1 time, I think on turn 3. So yeah, 97 to 49. And then I go into round 3 in the finals against my other teammate, Zach Kerstetter. And he also opted not to go for the monster list, and just brought his straight tournament list that he went 5-1 at ACO with. He went 5-1 at the Vegas team tournament with it. This list is actually surprisingly powerful because it's Custodes and Guard. And basically it's 5 Custodes Dreadnoughts with Trajan, as well as a unit of 6 Venatari. And then the Guard detachment is Harker with 2 full payload Mana Cores with Hunter Killers and a single squad of Guardsmen. And basically it's unbelievably durable and the Mana Cores put out a ton of damage with that full payload. Especially with Harker giving them reroll 1s to hit and wound, I think. But yeah, and then those Hunter Killer missiles with full payload mean that they do flat 6 damage, which is hilarious and amazing. In this game, we were playing the table quarters with the circle in the middle. What mission is that? Sweep and clear. So we played sweep and clear, and basically I felt like whoever got to go first was going to win this one because both of us took the mission secondary of direct assault. He then took Stranglehold as well as Bring It Down, and I took Engage on All Fronts and Bring It Down. So we've had basically the same secondaries, except he took Stranglehold and I took Engage. Honestly, Stranglehold probably would have been better for me to pick. I just forget that's a secondary sometimes. I'm so used to just doing Rod and Engage that I forget what the good other secondaries are. But yeah, so we direct assault, Bring It Down for both of us, and then I took Engage and he took Stranglehold. And he managed to win first turn, which I thought kind of was going to hose me because those Mana Cores can just pick up the entire Hive Guard unit before I get to shoot with them because they also ignore line of sight. And with full payload, they do flat 3 damage. And basically his turn 1, he moved up all of his Dreadnoughts. He put one of them, he advanced onto the center objective to get the direct assault and Stranglehold. He did move on his 1 Guardsman squad to secure the No Man's Land objective, again, to get the Stranglehold. And then the Mana Cores shot at the Hive Guard. He rolled 7 shots. Cadian rerolled he rolled a 5 and a 2. Cadian rerolled the 2 into a 1. Only got 6 shots, but 5 hits, 4 wounds. I saved 1 on a 6-up save on the Hive Guard, and then with my 6-up Feel No Pain, actually came in clutch, and I rolled 1-6 from the first shot, so I took 2 damage. Then the second shot killed him, and then the third the third shot I rolled 2 6-up feel no pains and only took 1 damage. And then his second mana core shot into the Hive Guard, killed the wounded one and one other Hive Guard. This time he got 10 shots, but only 5 hits. And same thing, 4 wounds. And so I actually only ended up losing 3 of my 6 Hive Guard, which is definitely a blow, but way less than what I expected to lose. And then in my turn, I was able to charge his Dreadnought in the center with a Scythed Hierodule, as well as the 9 warriors to obsec that center objective. And the other Scythed Hierodule used his Flamer to kill off the 10 guardsmen and charged one of his other squads. Meanwhile, the Swarmlord double moved the Flyrant in all the way into his back corner to charge the mana cores. He is very experienced player though, and he positioned his mana cores where even though the mana cores were directly next to each other, they were literally touching. I was able to charge one, but I couldn't kill it and then pile into the other one because he put Harker in such a position that I had to pile in closer to Harker. And Harker was perfectly positioned where I was not able to then pile into the mana core, the second mana core, which was really big because I think if I'd been able to kill a mana core and tie up the second one and prevent it from shooting, then that probably would have been the game. But because of very good positioning on his part, I could not do that. And essentially in combat, I wasn't able to kill either of his dreads, but I was able to do a significant chunk of damage to both of them, and basically take away the center objective from him and the no man's land objective, leaving him with just his home one and only getting 5 primary. Where then on his turn, the rest of his dreadnoughts moved forward. He needed to do a ton of damage here, and he did. He ended up killing my Scythed Hierodule that was on the no man's land objective, and he killed all 9 warriors from the center objective. As well as turning around, he attacked my Flyrant to try and get him out of, lines and protect his second mana core. And he tied my Flyrant up, but he did put it all the way down to 1 wound. So with that -1 to wound, that came in absolute clutch this game, allowing this Flyrant to keep alive. And I just was not failing 4-up invulns at all. So because of that, he was forced to turn one of his dreadnoughts around to charge and tie up my my Flyrant, which he did. As well as he did 6 wounds to Swarmlord, but again, I was rolling really hot on my invulnerable saves. And yeah, I think he literally only killed 1 Scythed Hierodule and my 9 warriors, and then he just took a big chunk of damage on the rest of my army. And then okay, Lily. Sorry. But basically, then my turn 2, I got to punch back, and I was able to kill both of his smaller dreads, the ones that are not the Telemons. I was able to kill basically all of his smaller dreads, and I was able to do that with the Flyrant. Even though the Flyrant had 1 wound left, I was able to cast Paroxysm on his dread, which to make it fight last. And even though I was on 1 wound, I was able to finish off that smaller dread. And then I had the Haruspex charge into a Telemon with Swarmlord. I had I even had the Broodlord and Maleceptor pair up with my other Scythed Hierodule against his other Telemon in the center of the table. And I was able to pick up the Telemon in the center, but Trajan was still there, obsecking the objective away from me. And then the Flyrant was able to kill the Dreadnought, but still was not able to tie up the mana core. So then his turn 3, he got 10 primary points and was able to pick up the 1 wound Flyrant, and he attacked the Haruspex, and actually through me he did 16 damage with the Telemon punching the Haruspex, and with me rolling those 6-up feel no pains, I rolled 6 ups out of 16 dice and only took 10 damage, keeping the Haruspex alive on 3 wounds, which was amazing. And he really needed to kill that because that Haruspex was also sitting on the other no man's land objective. And so then on my turn 3, I spent 1 CP to make my Maleceptor objective secured. And that meant because I had a Maleceptor and Scythed Hierodule on the center objective, and he just had Trajan, I was able to get a 15-point primary, which was really big. So that new OBSEC strat actually scored me an extra 5 points, which was really big. And then I basically was able to pick up Trajan and pick up the second Telamon that turn, leaving him with literally just hit 3 and Hive Guard killed 2 Venatari. So he just had 3 Venatari left, as well as 1 Mana Core. And I was going to be able to kill both of those on turn 4. So we basically ended up calling it there, with me winning against his ridiculous Imperium list. But the Monster Mash list just happened to actually be really good against it, because most people, what he was saying, and I agree with this, most people that he plays against have 2 or 3 things that can hurt his Dreadnoughts. So he just focuses those down turn 1, and normally by turn 2, all of those are dead, and then nothing can really threaten all his Custodes Dreadnoughts for the rest of the game. Except my list, having 6 monsters, all of which, as long as I apply the appropriate buffs to them, can threaten his Dreadnoughts. Even though he killed 3 monsters over the course of the game, the 3 that survived were able to finish off his Dreadnoughts, and because of that, I was able to win the game. The final score was 95-52. I was able to score... I only scored 5 primary on turn 2, but then I got the 15 points on primary turn 3, 4, and 5. Whereas he got 5 primary turn 2, 10 primary turn 3, 5 primary turn 4. And then for secondaries, for direct assault, I only got the 3 points turn 1. I was not able to get it turn 2 because he had the OBSEC there. I got 3 on turn 3, and then 5 and 5 for turn 4 and 5 to max out direct assault. For engage, I got 14 points, only getting 2 points on turn 3, but the full 3 points the rest of the game. And then for bring it down, I got 3 points on turn 2 for killing 2 small dreads and a mana core, but I was able to kill the rest of his vehicles by turn 3 to get the 11 bring it down points that his army gave up. He managed to get 9 points on Stranglehold and 4 on Bring It Down. But I had Swarmlord with 3 wounds left, Haruspex with 3 wounds left, Scythed Hierodule with, I think, 7 wounds left. So the game could have very much swung his way if I'd not been amazing with all of my saves. I think he could have easily won this. But because I was just rolling super well, it definitely helped. And yeah, then he got 9 points on direct assault as well. And with that, I ended up winning the event. I really like the list. I do plan on dropping the Scythed Hierodules probably. They were really in there just to fill out the 1,000 points of monsters. So in the future, I think I am still going to play with like 5 or 6 monsters. It's actually really good, but I'm definitely going to bring in units to do secondaries, because that's what almost screwed me over in every single game. And I was just... yeah, I really need at least 2 lictors in the list. So I'm probably going to drop the 2 Scythed Hierodules and bring in a unit of Devour Gaunts, a unit of Gene Stealers, and 2 lictors. But yeah, that's the recap. I did manage to win. I got an Imperial Guard starter box, which is cool. That's going to become future Gene Stealer cult units when their codex drops, hopefully in December. So yeah, it was a fun event. Let me know what you guys think. And I will be streaming a game later this afternoon, and I will probably be playing a slight variation on that Monster Mash list. I did put up a vote in the competitive Tyranid 40k chat on Facebook, and that people voted and said they wanted the Monster Mash list. So I will be playing a slight variation on this list just with those tweaks that I just mentioned, and be streaming that. So if you guys just want to watch that video, I'll post a link to it in this description, and we can watch that. But thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you.